Okay, so if you're asking one of these questions here at the top, how can I actually improve performance? How do we scale? I don't know what to fix on the website. We've tried all these things and it's not working. We're not hitting our revenue targets and it feels sporadic. It feels confusing. It feels like things just aren't working. You don't know what to do. I've got a process for you. Okay, I've got a process for you. You've got a system that you can follow, right? And I'm going to explain it in this video, so I hope this is useful. Let's get into it. So in terms of the process, it's kind of in 4 steps. There's obviously a few more details in between, but this is kind of how I like to frame it. So first thing is learning. So research and learn about your customers and your website. Okay, this is the most important thing. You might see it as called gathering data research, right? This is the most important thing, because without this information in hand, you're not going to know what to fix on a website, because you're going to be trying all these other things which aren't the problem, right? So you're trying to address things which aren't the problem, right? So you want to be always addressing problems, and not problems that you think in your head, problems that customers are having, problems that visitors are having, right? It's not about you, it's about people who are on your site. So you need to go and speak to them, look at them, find out what they're experiencing essentially. Then the next thing is to build. So you want to build a solution to that problem. You want to ideate, you want to think. And this usually comes down to deliverables such as designing and developing a page, some kind of asset, some kind of copy, which you can then test against the website. And that leads me into the third one, which is testing, right? It's important that you do this phase. It doesn't always have to be formal A/B testing. You can, launch something and then look at the metrics and then track metrics that way. It doesn't need to be like formal through an A/B test, but it is what I recommend because it's just simple, and then it eliminates so many other variables as well. But this is if you're testing extremely big things. But yeah, you want to make sure that you are testing something. Like this one here, we've tried everything and it's not working. You probably tried it for 2 days or something, or maybe you tried something for 6 months and you forgot about it for 4 of those months, or you tried something and then you changed pivot and then you tried something else. So you forgot what you were trying, right? So you want to make sure you test, and that's why this word is in here, documentation, right? You want to have some kind of documentation to show the things that you've been testing. That also helps keep you accountable, and that also makes sure you're just not doing the same thing twice, and a bunch of other different benefits, which I can get into in another video. And then the last part is to scale, right? So once you follow these 3 steps in the system, because this part kind of repeats, this ends up then causing this. So you analyze test result. You've had a winning test. Okay, great. This hypothesis, this problem has been solved. Let's see how we can solve other similar problems in that vein, right? Let's see if we've got a winning variation here. How can we make another variant of it that might win even better, right? So we've learned something here from this test losing. Okay, great. What can we do for this next test so it doesn't lose? Or why did it lose, right? So from these kind of things, you can understand more and more about the site. And then as your metrics slowly creep up, then you can start investing more into your ad spend. You can start investing more in sort of resources. You can start pushing these learnings out into other different channels like your email and other things that you guys are working on. So let's get into a little bit of like an example, we'll call it, right? So to help you visualize this out, so I want this to be as useful for you as possible. So let's say you're working on the site and you're in this phase. I don't know what's working on my site. I don't know what to fix on my website. The first thing you should start with is research. So one good way of doing research, as you've heard 1,000 times, is to go and speak to your customers. It's such an underrated thing. People talk about it, but then they never do it. Go and speak to your customers in terms of user tests, in terms of surveys on the site, in terms of your customer service ticket, right? So your customer service team are speaking to customers every day. If you go and speak to your customer service team, since they spend all day with customers, they can tell you some really good information. You can have a look at some of the conversations that they're having, right? So let's take this example here. Customers keep on asking the same questions about a product before buying. So let's say you sell bicycles, right? And one key question that your customer service team keep on seeing is people asking about how to change the handles or something to do with the handles of the bicycle. And you just see this coming up, a couple of times a day from visitors. And then once someone answers it, the customer goes, oh, okay, I see. And then they go ahead and make their purchase in the next, 1 to 2 days, right? So if you notice this kind of pattern trend, that's like a good piece of data that you can have. And again, with this data, I know when I say this word, some people think, oh, it has to be just numbers, right? Not always. Not always. There is qualitative data. You can have your quantitative data, which is your number space, which is kind of looking at trends and patterns and pages, analytics, which is of course very valid. But commonly you want to look at more data in this sense. So for example, if you run a survey, right, and you ask customers, do you prefer product A or product B? And then, 70% of people, okay, let's call it 90% actually, 90% of people say they prefer, product A, then that's quantitative data, but it's kind of, you get the point. So yeah, in terms of this data, then you go, okay, cool, let's make a hypothesis, a solution, a proposed solution, we'll call it. So having more product info in a clear format will improve performance, we'll call it CVR, will improve CVR on the page, right? So that's your proposed solution. Something that you're going to test and see whether it works, right? So from here you go, okay, cool, that makes sense. So customers are having this issue because there's not enough info on the page. Let's add some more info on the page in this kind of clear format. Next thing you're going to do is to go and set up a test. So this is kind of the second phase of what we mentioned over here, building, right? So you set up a test, so you flesh out the idea. Okay, cool. Let's have 2 variants in this test. We can have 3 or 4 if you have enough traffic. Okay, let's think of any other solutions we could have for this test. Let's think, why are we running this test? What pages should we run this test on? How could this test go wrong? So you just kind of flesh out this idea, battle test it, and this is where the documentation comes in and your A/B test report comes in. How long are we going to run this test for? Are we going to exclude any channels from this test? Do we want to exclude, paid traffic and only run it on organic, or the other way around, right? So you want to really flesh out the test idea. And then from there, you want to get building it. So designing some sections for the page, duplicating the current page. So this is the important part about testing. You want to do as similar as a test as you can in terms of having the control, and that's just a fancy word for the original, the current version, and then the variant A, which is the variant of the thing that you're testing. So it's basically taking the control, changing a few different things on the page, and then adding this in. Now, one of the common things you want to do here is try and change one thing at a time. Now, when you're adding multiple different sections in, some people can consider that as you're changing too many variables at once. I think it's not too bad, personally. It depends just how much traffic your store gets. If you're getting millions in terms of sessions, you probably want to make much smaller changes, because a change this big can probably change some stuff adversely, and you don't want to run into that. But for most people, this is quite a solid test. You can search test page against page, because that's a pretty big test. You don't want to be changing small little words, because that's not really going to make much impact at all. So you want to duplicate this into an alternate page. So get your designer, developer talent to go and build this page. So let's say we have our PDP1 over here, which is our default. And so it has a product info section and then a you may also like section, which is very, very typical, very bland for most e-commerce stores. And let's say you want to add in 4 custom sections. So you want to add in a how it works section in terms of like also including a handle there. You want to add in a why us section. You want to add in a benefits section, and then you want to add in, I don't know, maybe like a carousel section with some reviews in it. Okay, so let's say you add in those 4 custom sections. You think, wow, okay, great. I think because of this data about people asking us more questions, we think we're going to add in some more information about the product through these 4 sections, and then we're going to add in some reviews as well, so people who have used this instead of just having no reviews on the page, right? So this is something that we're testing. Like I say, we'll run into the issue of testing multiple different things at once, but I think this is just how you have slightly bigger tests. There's nuance in this, and it depends. So I won't get into too much details. But yeah, then the next thing we want to do is A/B tests. So hopefully you're kind of following my direction here. You want to get into an A/B test, and then you want to run the test with software. Like I mentioned, IntelliGems is a great software. I think I've done a video on this. Yes, I have done a video on this. I'll link it at some point if I remember. And then, yeah, you want to run the test for about 14 days. And these are the typical results you want to wait for. Again, there's nuance inside of this. 90% stat sig. Some people want to go 95. At least 200 orders per variant at the minimum. But from some people, you want to go to 500 orders per variant. So that's about 1,000 orders inside of each test. So if you're not getting some of these numbers, you probably don't want to be running tests at this kind of style or formal version. And then you want to be shooting for at least 20k visitors per test, right? So these are just some benchmark numbers. Depending on your average order value and so many other different factors, it's going to be a little bit different. But these are just some benchmarks that you can kind of pull against. So you want to wait about 2 weeks until you get these results. So let's say you run this test and let's say you get a 7.8% uplift on the page. Because that's usually what happens. Well, test can either win or lose, or it can stay the same, or it can be inconclusive. But let's say you run this test and you get 7.8 and you're like, wow, this is great. And then you repeat the same process, right? The process of learning, iterating, finding out why it worked, testing something in a similar vein of, oh, great, 12.4% lift in the next test that we do. Okay, cool. Let's keep on going down that avenue. And then the next test you do, go, oh, minus 3.2. So maybe the second test you did was adding 2 more sections to the page. So now you've got 8 sections on the page. And then maybe the next test you were like, cool, let's add 10 sections. And then you realize, okay, maybe that's too much, or maybe something went wrong in this process somewhere, or maybe we've explored that one a bit too far. Maybe we've added in a section with a video or something heavy that slowed down the load speed, whatever it is, right? Something goes wrong, or whatever factor that could have been affected, or maybe you were running 2 tests at once. So many other things that could affect it, right? But you lose tests, cool, let's find out where we went wrong. Let's now try and explore a different hypothesis. Let's go back to our drawing board over here with data, and let's go and find another hypothesis. Maybe it's on the home page this time, right? And then once you finish that, you just keep on doing the same process again and again and again for months and months and months, years and years and years. Test bigger and bolder ideas as you go along. Continue compounding wins. And the beautiful thing is, once you get these lifts, so let's say you had a conversion rate of 1%, and then you did this and you had a conversion rate of 1.08%, right? Or we'll call it 1.1%, cool. And then you did this again, and then you've increased that 1.1% by another 10%. So you can kind of see where we go here. You just keep on compounding. So after you do this process for months and months and months, you end up going from a 1% conversion rate to maybe after a few months a 3% conversion rate. Like, wow, that's great. Okay. Because some of these will be way higher. Like you can get tests that get into the 20s in terms of uplift. Same thing with like negatives, right? But you can get tests that go really up there. And obviously, depending on how good you are at the process of, spotting good bits of data, prioritizing the tests that you do, you can then kind of find a system which allows you to run the highest leverage tests possible and get the best results from them. So yeah, once you keep on doing that, it's going to be cheaper for you to run ads because you're going to have a higher conversion rate, which means you can spend a little bit more on your ad traffic. So it just creates this nice little loop that allows you to scale really easily, push more traffic to the page, and then that traffic is also converting really well. And then from there, you can also find things like winning offers, a bunch of other different strategies we can get into. So just things that you continue to test. But yeah, that's kind of the process in a nutshell. So if you were feeling some of the things up here confused, this is kind of the process you need to follow to scale and iterate and optimize your website in terms of performance. So I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. Bye.